Jürgen Baumert is a modest kind of guy, quietly spoken and reserved. Nevertheless, he's the man who spilled the beans on the sorry state of Germany's schools. In 2000, he was heading a study of the OECD'S Program for International Student Assessment, or PISA, here in Germany.
Die Zensur, die es gab,
the report was poor in two different ways. Low marks for the large group of youngsters who have to be classified as risk candidates. They didn't have the basic requirements for starting out on a proper career. Low marks were also given for the link between social background and poor performance, which is much closer than any other OECD nation.
The PISA report was a wake-up call. Germans had to realize they were making huge mistakes when it came to educating the very young. Kindergartens were just looking after children and failing to prepare them for school. Language is just one issue.
Language is the key to successful education, especially for the large number of pupils who weren't born in Germany and don't speak German as their first language. There has been some serious neglect in the past.
As a result, the German school system is failing children from immigrant families. They often speak poor German and make up the majority of pupils in some schools. Despite numerous school reforms over the past 40 years, opportunities have been missed.
A structural reform of the education system is difficult in any country. It was difficult in Sweden, difficult in Britain, and difficult in Finland. But they succeeded in all these countries in the 1950s and 60s. We tried in the 60s, but we failed. The attempt failed so miserably that it left bitter enemies in its wake.
An extremely controversial topic in Germany is what kind of schools are needed. Which schools prepare students best for university? How long should the school day be? What alternatives should be available? And who selects which students attend which schools? The question of what they should be taught sometimes falls by the wayside.
The real revolution in the education system isn't the debate on structural reform, but the debate on what we should be teaching our students. What should a modern-day science lesson look like? What do we want a young European to know about history and politics? And what about literature? Answering those questions is made more difficult because our society is so diverse, but that makes it a lot more interesting too.
German universities are also undergoing major changes. Students have been repeatedly protesting about poor teaching conditions. Shorter bachelor and master degrees were introduced, replacing the traditional diplomas. At the same time, more and more students were entering crowded universities, and study fees were introduced, a revolutionary move in Germany.
Everyone agrees that German universities need more money for teaching.
I'm in favor of study fees. I think the concept that education must be free is wrong. Taxpayers pay a lot for education and research.
Education is high on the political agenda in Germany. The Chancellor approved an increase in the education budget of 12.5 billion. But it's Germany's federal states that determine education policies. It's the most important political field in which they have the final say, and their willingness to cooperate is limited.
The limits of cooperation with the states are clearly visible, especially when it comes to investing money.
Germany's education system is undergoing some major reforms which have to be implemented while the system is up and running. The PISA report issued 10 years ago opened the door to more transparency. Now those involved have to grasp the opportunity.